So, we can start with a few minutes of meditation at the beginning. So please get into a comfortable meditation posture. Most important thing is to have a straight back, so don't slouch over. Try to straighten yourself in the seat, and then make sure that your shoulders are up and back, and then you'll place your hands either on your knees like this, or you'll see in the Buddhist tradition, this is actually called the Dalai Mudra. Dalai meaning meditative concentration. Try to keep your eyes slightly open to allow light in, but not so open that you're distracted by objects in your field of vision. And then here we will use as our object of focus the physical sensations within the body as we inhale and exhale. So last night we did this focusing on the rising and falling of the abdomen. Tonight, let's try to look at the space beneath our nostrils, in the upper lip and the area where a mustache would be. So place your mind's attention there, in that area. And then try to feel any sensations as we inhale and exhale. So you might feel some coolness of the air passing over the skin. So just watch that area. Again, we're working with the natural breath as it is. Not having any particular preference whether the breath is long or short, but rather just trying to bear witness and observe the natural course of the breath. And here again we can count the exhalations. So at the very last moment of the exhalation, mentally count 1, inhale again, exhale, and at the end of the exhalation count 2, and so forth until you reach 10. Then start over again at 1. If before you get to 10, you totally lose your object of meditation, start over again at 1. But if as you're trying to do this meditation, other internal or external distractions come to the mind, try not to engage in them, but rather just let them pass away. So we'll do this for 5 minutes. Gently end the meditation and bring your awareness back to the room. Okay. So, how many new people do we have? 1, 2, 3. That's it? Okay. Great. So here at Choe Ling, we've been going through this text, the Bodhisattvacharyāvatāra, or Chunju, Guide to a Bodhisattva's Way of Life. We've been going over it for some months now. And what we're trying to do this weekend, 3 days, and last night was the introduction and review of what we've covered. But you weren't here. And anyway, I had a bad allergy attack last night, so I'm not even sure, even the people that were here, how much we were able to understand. Huh? Yeah? Oh! I thought you were like, yeah. Nonetheless, if I try to replicate all that material that we covered last night, then, it'll just be, going around in circles. So I'm going to just give a very, very quick recap of the recap, and then we should get into the text, okay? So, starting point, and the most important thing that we always have to keep in mind, right? What determines whether an action becomes virtue or non-virtue, positive or negative, is our motivation, okay? So, we're mentioning the very starting point of our lives, our situation as humans, is this basic observation that all beings want to have happiness and want to avoid suffering. This is what the Dalai Lama emphasizes again and again. So given that that's the case, then we try to investigate all the various types of happiness and suffering. What are the causes of happiness, what are the causes of suffering, right? Then if we want to have the results of happiness, we need to accumulate the causes for happiness. If we don't want the result of suffering, we have to abandon its causes. Okay? So then we looked at, there is some suffering and well-being associated with our physical surroundings, having good food, wealth, good reputation, money in the bank, air conditioning, these things, they bring some level of well-being. And the opposites, illness and poverty and, these things do cause us harm. But actually, compared to the physical, the mental is more important, because we see even people with very difficult physical conditions, even people with illness or poverty, still by maintaining some kind of inner mental strength, they can be quite okay, quite content, even though they have little. And even people with illnesses or other kind of physical ailments, if they have a calm and peaceful mind, it doesn't affect them as much. And on the flip side, we see that even people with things that we normally associate with good life, power, wealth, fame, are celebrities. Many of them turn to alcohol and drug abuse. Many of them even commit suicide. So that just goes to show that the external, physical, development alone isn't sufficient to bring the deep happiness and satisfied life that we seek. Of course, we then also look at the centuries of masters, practitioners who have very low, simple kind of lives in terms of their wealth and possessions. Many of them even living in caves or under trees, living with very simple clothing, yet maintain a very actually extraordinary level of happiness and well-being through the development of their minds. Okay. So then the Dharma, right, which we are trying to learn about, right, that just is, in brief, the methods by which we transform our minds to achieve this level of mental development. So we can think of it as methods of training the mind, methods of transforming the mind. Okay? So then, what then needs to be transformed? Okay? So we were saying, if we don't want suffering, we need to abandon the causes of suffering. Okay? So we see, and this is the one of the Buddha's very most famous statements found in Dhammapada. Yeah? Do not commit a single negative action, accumulate a host of virtuous actions, to thoroughly subdue one's own mind. This is the teaching of the Buddha. Yeah? So, do not commit a single negative action, accumulate a host of virtuous actions. Yeah? So this goes to one of the central points, right, in the Buddhist teachings, the point of cause and effect. Namely, that the cause of our suffering actually is non-virtuous actions. Okay? And the cause of happy experiences are virtuous actions. So since we don't want to experience suffering and we want to experience happiness, then we need to abandon and adopt their respective causes. Okay? Simple enough, right? Then the question is, well, what then makes an action virtuous or non-virtuous? And that is the mind. So the actions that are motivated by, we call them afflictive emotions, nyomo, right? Klesha. The most famous ones being anger, attachment, jealousy. Those then kind of propel us into committing negative actions, right? When we get angry, we kill. When we have excessive lust and desire, we cheat on our husbands and wives, right? When we have excessive greed, we will steal, and so forth. Now on the flip side, when we have minds of compassion, we'll alleviate others' suffering, either by generosity or, restraining ourselves from harming others when we are provoked, That's the practice of patience, which we're going to talk about later. But anyway, so then this third line of the stanza, right? To thoroughly subdue one's own mind, this is the teaching of Buddha. So to thoroughly subdue one's own mind, this is what we need to do. If we want to be first successful in our practice, to abandon negative actions and adopt virtuous ones. But, well, we'll get to this later. But the real kind of way to subdue the mind is through the development of the correct view of reality. Okay? So, without getting into it too much, okay? It's very hard to just say a little bit about it. But I will try, okay? See, when we really get down to the root of it, yeah, the root of the roots, yeah, we say, okay, our, the afflictive emotions, anger, jealousy, lust, all this stuff, you see. But the roots of all the afflictions is a distorted view about how ourselves and other phenomena exist. Okay? So, yeah. We all exist. Yeah? We exist. But, the way we exist, okay? Do you ever think about that? How do I exist? No, probably not. As the great Indian master Aryadeva, he said, those with little merit don't even doubt this doctrine. Those with little merit don't even doubt this doctrine. But even entertaining a mere doubt about emptiness will tear the foundations of samsara. So, I jumped ahead and introduced a new vocabulary. Emptiness. Okay. Anyway, let's back up one step. Okay. Let's back up one step. When we think about, we never think about this, but let's just try to think about how we exist. Okay? So of course, where are you? Right? You're here in Choe, Ling, right? Sitting on a cushion, right? No problem. And you see, if we just leave it at that, there's no problem. We can get along fine in the world. And if I say, Shanti, can you bring me a cup of tea? Yeah? You could do that command or request quite well. You bring tea somewhere in this general vicinity, and I'd be happy. I thank you. Right? But if we dig a little bit deeper, if we're not satisfied, and we say, okay, where are you really? Or let's put it another way. This might be more effective. We say I, then we also say mine, me, mine. And so, we can also say like my rosary, my mala, my pen, yeah? And when we talk like that, we have a possessor, and the possession. Okay? And those are separate. Right? Separate in the sense, you know, if I leave the room, then, oh, whose is this? You can ask. Oh, it's Namjong's. Yeah? Oh, he left. He must have forgotten it. Right? So there's the possessor and the possession being separate. Right? Independent from each other. And you can have the possessor in a place where the possessions are not. My mala, if I forget it, I go back to my hotel. Oh shoot, I'm here, but where's my mala? Okay. And you can ask where this, the owner of this mala is. Right? Now, when we... You all heard me before we started. I singled her out.
No, the first one was not mine.
And that's nice too, right? The first one wasn't mine. And what about this one?
This is mine. I apologize. I'm switching it off. But that was the sorry one. Then.
The first one wasn't mine. You know?
I'm just switching it off. It's not me.
Okay. Then we say, my body, my mind. Right? My body, my mind. So there's a sense of an I that's a possessor of the body and the mind. Right? Now we try to find that I, that possessor of the body and the mind. So where is that one? Right? So, you know, you have the pen, the mala, right? Put that on the table, then we can isolate, you know what I'm saying? Isolate the possessor. Now, if we search for the owner of the body and the mind, what do we find? You know what I mean? We can isolate, right? Separate mentally the possessions of the pen and the mala, no problem. But if we do the similar kind of thing and try to pinpoint, okay, this owner, right, of your body, mind, that I, where's that one? What do we find? Do we find something that we can say, oh yes, this is that I that possesses, or this is the Namjong that possesses Namjong's body, Namjong's mind. Okay? Okay. So, now, maybe you think we're just playing tricks, okay? Well, why do we care? Right. So then, you know, there's a great Indian master, Dhammakirti, yeah, who said, you see, first we have the sense of the self, then we have the sense of the other. Then all the other afflictions arise from those. Okay. So we have this sense of the I first, right? And then, you know, the things that we see as benefiting the I, then we want to own, we want to possess. The things that we see harming that I, we want to, you know, destroy or harm back, right? And that's how the desire, the lust, and on the other side, the anger, they arise from that, right? So without this sense of the I that's there to, you know, cherish so much, you know, take care of, right? Then all the other things, the mental afflictions. Oh, this eye is so good and it's better than everyone else, then pride comes, right? So all the other mental afflictions, they arise from this root of a misapprehension of the sense of I. Now, let's not go too far and say, oh, therefore the I doesn't exist. That's not true. The I does exist, for sure. For sure. But you see, how it exists. This is we say, the million-dollar question. You understand?
You are wishing to see the development of correct view of reality is what you're saying now. Or do we develop the correct view of reality? What is a reality?
Yes. No, it's okay. Okay. We're saying the root of all of our problems is the ignorance, right? That distorts the way that ourselves and other phenomena actually exist. Okay? So, of course I could talk about Nagarjuna and so forth, but even this text, okay, wisdom, right? Shantideva, he's saying, all the other practices are just, branches. Let me get the exact quote. Yeah. All of these practices were taught by the Mighty One for the sake of wisdom. Therefore, those who wish to pacify suffering should generate this wisdom. Page 121. Okay? You understand? I'm not sure. I'm jumping ahead. The root of all of our, suffering is a distorted view of reality. What reality? The reality of our own selves and other phenomena. How they exist. Okay? So, since this distorted view of reality is the root of suffering, then we need to generate the wisdom that understands reality as it is. That's the only antidote. The only way you can get rid of the ignorance is to discover the truth.
And how can it be achieved?
That's what we're doing here.
How do we even recognize this is, I have to get rid of it? That means a certain amount of knowledge, right?
Oh yeah. Okay. So listen. Sera Je Abbot, he said, at first, one abandons the non-meritorious. In the middle, one abandons the view of the self. At the end, one abandons all wrong views. He who knows this, or she who knows this, is a scholar, is wise. You understand? Or, this is just elaborating, what I already quoted Buddha is saying. Do not abandon, abandon all negativities, accomplish a host of virtues, thoroughly subdue one's own mind. So the order of practice is this, right? Again, already did the same. those with little merit don't even doubt this doctrine. You know? So, man, I can go on and on. Even in the 6 perfections we're talking about, right? The perfection of wisdom is the 6th. They're arranged in order of difficulty. So the first is generosity. Then, ethical discipline. Okay? So in terms of our practice, yeah, we need to first, abandon negativities, right? Practice generosity, accumulate virtue. Then gradually, we come to understand the correct view of reality. Okay? Right? Ranakar?
Yes.
Nice. So what was I saying? You asked me a question, right?
Yes.
Huh?
The distorted view of reality.
Yeah.
Connected to the development of the correct view of reality.
Nice. Let's do it.
Ignorance is
Yes, let's get rid of that ignorance. Okay? So anyway, oh man, we can get into this so much, but this is what I'm talking about, right? When we talk about Dharma, right, it's the means to transform the mind. Okay? And the real transformation we need to make is the transformation from ignorance to wisdom. Okay? And what kind of wisdom? The wisdom that understands correctly the way that ourselves and other phenomena exist. Okay. Okay. All right, but you see, that's Dharma. Okay. Now, of the various dharmas that exist out there, there's also, we need to talk about, there's some differences, right? So this is what we were talking about yesterday, okay? That it's our motivation that determines the kind of force behind our actions, okay? So, I was stating yesterday, there's another great Indian master, Tisha. Okay. Actually, I can even just continue with Aryadeva, right? At first, one abandons the non-meritorious. Okay. So these 3, then one abandons the view of the self, then one abandons all wrong views. She who knows this is wise. Right. So. The glorious Atisha Divankara, he wrote a text called The Lamp to the Path of Enlightenment. And in that, he arranged the various practices that the Buddha taught and set forth in the sutras into these, what they call the 3 scopes, or the 3 kind of levels of spiritual practitioner, of Dharma practitioner, right? And so, the initial scope, right, their primary motivation for the Dharma practice is to get a good rebirth in the next life. Okay? Since the cause of a good rebirth is virtue, and the cause of a lower rebirth is non-virtue, they then abandon non-virtue as much as they can and accumulate virtue. Okay? So, at first, one abandons the non-meritorious. Right? Initial scope. And actually, this is the real kind of entrance to Dharma practice. there's a text, very short, it's one stanza, given by Manjushri to the great Sakya Master Gyaltsen, I think. Where he says, c'est di la jena, chupa means, right? So, if you have grasping to this life, you're not a Dharma practitioner. You understand? So the first kind of qualifying bar for us to become Dharma practitioners is to give up this life. You understand? Means, maximum will be around, some of the young ones, maybe 60 more years. Huh? You're 22. Okay? Maximum maybe 60, 70 years. Maybe you were taking our vitamins 60, 70 years, right? But maybe tomorrow, maybe tonight we're gone. Okay? So, compared to our future lives, endless. Right? This life, who knows? It could be over in a few minutes, maximum 50, 60 years. Right? So what is more important? Definitely what goes on after we depart from this life. Right? But how are we acting? We act like, first of all, we act like we're never going to die. First of all. Then, even if we are going to die, it's like we act like it's guaranteed, that we're going to go to a good place. I hear this sometimes with some people, where they think like, oh, I've already achieved a human rebirth in this life, So then it's like going to school, right? Even if you fail, like eighth grade, you just repeat 8th grade. You don't go down to 7th grade, right? So they say, Namjong, because we talk in Buddhist cosmology, right? In our next life, we could be born as a dog, right? Yeah. They say, no, Namjong, no, I'm already human. I can't go back to a dog. I've graduated that level. Right? Sorry, it's not that way. So anyway, yeah, we act like we're not going to die. We act like we have this kind of guarantee. At the very least, I'll get another human rebirth. And this is kind of New Age view that, we'll get reborn as a human just again and again until we learn the lessons we need to learn. Then we'll, graduate to the next level. Huh? I wish it were the case. But actually the Buddha says, yikes, getting scared now. The Buddha said in one sutra that, the beings that get born from the lower states of rebirth to the lower states of rebirth, or the higher states of rebirth, that's us, to the lower states of rebirth, are like the number of atoms, dust particles, of the whole earth. Okay? So we're going to give a comparison, okay? So just keep that number in mind. Okay? Dust particles of the whole earth. Now, so now those that go from a higher rebirth to the higher rebirth, The number of dust particles, how many do you think? That can fit on the tip of a finger. You understand?
You mean to say is it's the way, like, for example, what you mean to say, what I understood from what you told me. Say, for example, this book is this much size, we are seeing.
Yeah.
This book is this much size. There is no specific definition about size, right? See, it's a tip of, you told that little bit dust on a edge of the finger, next finger.
Yeah.
So, size doesn't matter. So, it can be in a small dust particle also another universe might be there. No. It's just a measurement of unit.
Yeah. So let's not get too cute. Okay. What I'm saying is I'm talking about the extreme small chance for us to get a good rebirth again. Okay. Small chance. Okay. Let's put it another way. You know, we were talking about this before. We went over this. Okay. You see. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I mean, just as an example, we can look here. This is review, but let's look. If you just open to page 27, open to page 27. Oh man, we've already gone over an hour, or almost an hour. Anyway, I'm gonna just wrap it up, okay? But just as an example. With behavior such as this is Shantideva talking. With behavior such as this, I shall not win a human body again. And if this human form is not attained, there will be solely wrongdoing and no virtue. If when I have the chance to live a wholesome life, my actions are not wholesome, then what shall I be able to do when confused by the misery of the lower realms? And if I commit no wholesome deeds there, but rarely amass much wrongdoing, then for 100 million eons, I shall not even hear the words, a happy life. For these reasons, the Buddha has said that as difficult it is for a turtle to insert its neck into a yoke adrift upon the vast ocean, it is more difficult to attain the human state. If even by the transgression of one instant an eon may be spent in the deepest hell, then because of the transgressions I've gathered since beginningless time, what need to mention my not going to a happy realm? So, next.
You mean to say the chances of going from one level to another level, higher level, right now we are human being, we could be reborn as like a goddess or something. So that chances is like the tip of the...
Yeah, even getting another human rebirth.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult.
And
it's like impossible.
Yeah, and
almost.
the chances of going from the lower to the worst is like a whole universe.
Yeah. Or us, higher to the Lord.
Yeah. From human to like dog.
Yeah.
So the chances are very much.
Yes.
It's comparable to the universe, atoms of the universe.
Yes. You got it.
One thing is, there is a science, I mean, we talk about science. E is equal to mc square, we have formula.
Yeah.
That constant is also like climate, I don't know how many atoms, how much land, how much water we have. The constant, as per that how it is calculated, right? Energy can be converted into another energy form.
Yeah,
so
but we're not getting. Let's forget the physics.
This is just a comparison.
Yeah, let's just say like this.
Just an analogy. Like how many amount of the atoms are there overall in the universe and how many atoms are there present on the tip of the... This much is the possibility for us to go from our level to the higher level in the next rebirth. And from here to now, next level, the possibility is like there are like out of 100 like 0.00001. It's for us to go from this stage, this level of the human body to the next higher level of our reform in next birth.
Yeah, you are correct, because
Yeah.
apes, before apes used to have hair all over the body.
Okay.
Now, later, we lost the hair on the face and we have
Okay.
some of the state.
Okay. But what is all this? Are we, we're not just trying to get cute about, fractions and physics. What we're saying, the essence is, okay. And this is what we talked about yesterday too, right? See. Just turn to the first page. Stanza 4. Leisure and endowment are very hard to find, and since they accomplish what is very meaningful for humanity, if I do not take advantage of them now, how will such a perfect opportunity come about again? This is the essence. Why we talk about all this. Right? Because what we have now, leisure and endowment means this body, this human body that we have now, is so rare. But we have such a precious opportunity to accomplish what is meaningful for humanity. We can attain enlightenment in this life. We can attain liberation from samsara. We could of course, do so many different things. So now is our best opportunity. And by the way, if we don't do it this life, how and when will such a perfect opportunity come about again? So forget about always these fractions and atoms. Just look at what you have now. So what Shantideva is saying, this is the time we have to make the best use of our life. So then the question, how to then make the best use of life? What does that mean? And that is then to practice Dharma according to one of those, at least one of the three, scopes that the teacher is talking about. Either, the very minimum is to get a good rebirth in our next life. But even if we do that, then what about the one after that? So, better than that is to get freedom from this whole cycle of rebirth. Means liberation. Nirvana. But even that, if we attain nirvana, we're just one being. We're just one person. Compared to the countless beings out there, one being getting nirvana, it's like a drop in the bucket. You know what I mean? You have that saying? A drop in the bucket? Thank you.
It's like life force. We feel it.
Yeah. Okay. Let me, I'm behind schedule here.
So the last level, first
Okay,
level.
I'm getting there, if you let me. Okay? So it's just one person. So, okay. But let's just say this. Okay, I'm just going to bring it back to the Aryadeva. So, at the beginning, one abandons the non-meritorious. In the middle, one abandons the view of the self. What? The wrong view about how the self exists, which we stated was the root of our samsaric suffering. So if we want to get rid of samsaric suffering, we need to abandon the view of the self. Okay? That's the middle scope. If we do that, we get individual liberation, just for ourselves. But even that, not that big a deal compared to the countless human beings out there. So at the end, one abandons all wrong views. Okay? What does this mean? You see, we talked about yesterday the difference between the state of mere liberation from samsara and the state of complete enlightenment. Zope Sangye, right? The full enlightenment of the Buddha. And we're stating the difference between even his main disciples like Shariputra, Sharipu, right? And the Buddha, they had a huge difference in their level of realization. The Buddha is the omniscient one, right? So abandoning all wrong views means attaining the state of omniscience, right? Why do we need to attain the state of omniscience? So we can lead other sentient beings to enlightenment in the best way possible. The Buddha is the unsurpassed guide, right? You understand? The Buddha is the one then that teaches sentient beings exactly according to their disposition, their mindset, their karma, right? In the way that will lead them to enlightenment in the quickest way possible. Right? Whereas we were saying yesterday, the story of Shariputra, who couldn't see the subtle karma of the old man, he made a mistake. He didn't allow, I know, we won't get into the whole story. But until we become enlightened, we'll make mistakes in how we guide sentient beings. Therefore, they won't be enlightened as soon as possible. Therefore, they'll continue to suffer in samsara. Anyway, so this then state of enlightenment, we need to achieve this so that we can lead other sentient beings to liberation and enlightenment as quickly as possible. Now, why do we care that other sentient beings are even suffering? Right? Well, this text talks about that too, but let me just say in a brief way. One, because they've been our mother in the past, they've been our loved ones in the past, they've showered us in kindness, taken care of us time and time again, right? So now we're in a situation where due to their kindness, we're in a position where we can't do something for their benefit. And if we don't, then it's like, the child who becomes, rich, well off, and leaves the mother destitute on the streets. Huh? That's something that is not good. We don't want to do that. Come on. But even on a more fundamental level, just comes back to what we said in the beginning. Sentient beings don't want to suffer. And for a real intelligent one, that should be enough reason to want to eliminate their suffering. Because what's the point, right? You think, oh no, well it's not my suffering. Doesn't matter to me. It's their problem. They were talking about this, this strong sense of the I versus them, right? Where is that really in reality? Anyway, Shantideva gets into this. So, at the end, one abandons all wrong views, means, one attains the state of enlightenment. Why one needs to attain the state of enlightenment is because one sees that until that's possible, one is not able to benefit all sentient beings in the best way. Why one wants to benefit all sentient beings in the best way is because sentient beings are suffering. And motivated by compassion that wants to alleviate their suffering, then it becomes clear that until we achieve the state of enlightenment, we won't be able to make good on our aspiration to benefit them. So then, with that motivation enthused by compassion, we then set as our goal to attain the complete state of enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. That mind that wishes to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings is the mind of Bodhicitta, Janchuki Sen. Right? One who has that mind Bodhicitta, but is not yet enlightened, is a Janchu Senpai, or Bodhisattva. Although one has that wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, it just doesn't fall from the sky into our laps, but we have to accumulate the causes to attain enlightenment. Means we have to engage in the conduct, in the deeds of bodhisattvas. Guide to a Bodhisattva's way of life, I mentioned yesterday. Actually, it's, Janchu Senpei Chupa La Jukpa. So Chupa, as you guys know, right? Conduct. Janchu Senpai is Bodhisattva. So the Bodhisattva's conduct, Jukpa is to engage in. So how to engage in the Bodhisattva's conduct? It means how do we engage in those activities that will lead to full enlightenment? That's what this text is about. Okay? It's 7:10.
With that?
Yes.
In that hand thing.
Well, okay. Okay. So, yes? You with me? So now how is this text then put together? It goes through all the practices that we need to do to achieve full enlightenment. So Nalanda Master Shantideva do it at the beginning. Talks about the benefits of the awakening mind. Okay? It means awakening mind, Bodhicitta. Right? So before we engage in some kind of difficult time-consuming practice, it's good to know what am I going to get out of it. Right? So Shantideva is doing that, right? Basic type of psychology, right? Telling us the benefits. When we see the magnificent benefits of bodhicitta, we're like, oh yes, I want that one. Okay? But then, you see, before we can really have that mind of bodhicitta, we need to clear away the discordant factors that serve as obstacles to the attainment of the mind of bodhicitta. So then we have, chapter 2, disclosure of evil. I don't like that translation, but what it means is we basically look at our own lives, our own conduct, see the things that are unskillful, seeing the drawbacks of that way of behavior. We then see the negative as negative and kind of vow or commit ourselves not to committing those kinds of negative actions again. Right? Very good. Then, chapter 3, full acceptance of the awakening mind. Okay? So, basically, when you look on page 22, stanza number 23, this is the actual taking of the Bodhisattva's vows. We say, just as the previous Sugatas, that means Buddhas, gave birth to an awakening mind, and just as they successively dwelt in the Bodhisattva practice, likewise, for the sake of all that lives, do I give birth to an awakening mind, and likewise shall I too successively follow the practices. You understand? Are we all on the same page? Okay. This is it. This is it. Right? Actually, if you wanted to, encapsulate the whole Bodhisattvacharyāvatāra in 2 stanzas, this. Right? the previous Buddhas, what did they do? They gave birth to an awakening mind and then did the practices. Okay? So just like that, for the sake of all that lives, I'll give rise to Bodhicitta and then I'll do all the practices. Okay? Now, what are then those practices? Then that's what the rest of the text is about. And we were saying the main practice then of a Bodhisattva is the so-called 6 perfections. The 6, perfection, we try, paramita in Sanskrit, or, paro tu chimpa, parchin, paro tu chimpa, paro, right, it's like the other side, yeah, chimpa means to go. So those practices that take us to the other side, right? What's on the other side? Enlightenment. Okay. So, again, there's you'll find some analogies that come up again and again. So this ocean analogy you often see in the literature a lot, right? Or the river, the ocean. So we're in the ocean of samsara. We get to the other side, to the shore of enlightenment. So what takes us there? These parchin, these paraduchimpas, these perfections. Huh? Thank you. So what are then the 6? We have generosity, ethical discipline, patience, enthusiastic perseverance, meditation, and wisdom. But then, as I was saying, page 121. All of these practices were taught by the Mighty One for the sake of wisdom. Therefore, those who wish to pacify suffering should generate this wisdom. Okay. So it's also said, like in Chandrakirti's Bylakuppe, that the first 5 perfections are like a blind man. But it's the wisdom that can lead them to enlightenment, right? Or as Tsongkhapa says in the Lamso Lamsum, the 3 principles of the path to enlightenment, that even if one has the mind of renunciation or the mind of bodhicitta, if one doesn't have the view of emptiness, one cannot cut the root of samsara. Therefore make effort to realize dependent origination. And you get my point. Okay. So now, where are we in us going through this text? We're on the chapter on patience, the chapter on patience. And we've done this, it's chapter 6, I think? No, 4. Yeah, 6. Okay? So now, as we've said, how we're going through this text might be too much, but we're doing it anyway. We are combining the root text, Bodhisattvacharyāvatāra, which you all have. We have, well, I don't know, you guys don't have this. But is this available? What's going on?
Yeah, available for sale. There are few copies, about 10.
Okay. There's this, which is Geshe J, who is one of the main students of Lama Tsongkhapa. He wrote a commentary on Shantideva's Bodhisattvacharyāvatāra. That's, by the way, what you have there. Okay? Alright. It's 2. 3, what you have here. So, Lama Tsongkhapa, then he also, in his Lamrim Chenmo, he wrote about all the 6 perfections. And then just on this, 1 page, you have his outline on the practice of patience. And then here's more outlines in this, which you'll have. It's just the outlines of the Geshe commentary. Okay? So, ideally, what you would do is not just rely on one text, right? But be expansive. And so, different texts, different commentaries that go over the same topic, you should read them. See how their presentations differ. And it can enrich your understanding, right? But, you know, do you can. So, you know, in the Tibetan world, this, you know, going through the outlines is very kind of prevalent, you know. And it's good, it's very good, because, you see, these outlines, you can memorize them. Of course, the best, and many people do this, you can memorize the whole Bodhisattvacharyāvatāra. You understand? Memorize. Yes? Yikes. I have my exams coming up. Next week we have a memorization exam. Very difficult. But you know how they do it, just to give you some, I hope it'll be inspiration, you know? But you go, say, yes, I'll memorize this. They say, okay. I should not be disheartened by all the whims of the childish. Then you're supposed to continue. You know, the next few lines. What do you think? Huh? Wherever I go, I shall completely overcome by weapons of pain. Huh? So I actually have to do that in September 5th is August 31st. Gosh, okay, we're going to end the session. Okay, no, but the best ones, right? You know, you'd have this memorized. Okay. Hello? If you can't do that, then, you know, you can memorize the outlines, right? Even this. Then, you know, you could have the outlines and then the root verses together. Very nice. But even if not, then you could have the outlines. And then, you know, wherever you go, you can use this as a way to contemplate. Right? You understand what I mean? But even forget about memorization. At the very least, right? Even if you don't have it memorized, could we, at the end of our time together, if you just have the outline, could you explain? Do you know how this is all, like, what is referred to? How this text is put together? That'd be good, right? So, I'll do my best, okay? For you guys also, you know. it took a while for me to understand the advantage in the outlines, because we don't really study like that otherwise. But then you see how it helps to unlock the meaning of the text. Okay? So anyway, maybe you look at this. You have that opened to the chapter 6 on patience. You have this. And then we'll look at these three together, okay? So by the way, evening is 7:24 on Saturday. Okay? We had 2 hours yesterday of review. Then we used the first hour and 24 minutes on the second day. So now we're ready to go. Okay? Actually, we're not ready to go. I'm just going to say one more thing. So I was saying part of the reason why we're having a Friday session is to make sure everyone is on the same page. That in general we need that kind of introduction. But before, when we were having just 2 sessions a week, and by the way, 2 sessions a week, and not every week. So maybe 2 weekends out of a month we'd have 2 sessions. That means 4 sessions a month. Half of that time is used for review. That means we have 2 sessions where we're progressing new material. Then it's going to take us how long to get through this text? An eon. Now, the other difficulty, okay, welcome, I thank you for coming. But there's always new people coming. And then some people, I don't see every time I come. Right? So then, at other places, I mentioned this, right? They have, I was there earlier this year. The Nalanda Monastery in France. Not Nalanda, Bihar. Nalanda in France. Right? Where, by the way, it's a monastery, but there's lay people like you. Not monks, nuns, no. Lay people. They're there living around. There's classes 3-4 times a week. By a Geshe. They also have review classes. And people, okay, they're not living in Paris, some big city, right? They get kind of simple jobs. Yeah, they're living around the monastery. They're making Dharma their focus. Okay. Then they can study this text 4 times a week, and since they come every time, then the Geshe doesn't have to, do this introduction, blah blah blah, every time, every weekend. They just keep going through. Hello? But you've asked me, and like so, to, give you guys the same level of, knowledge and understanding as these ones who are full-time, committed students. So what do you think? Huh? Does that happen like that? No way. If it were that easy, then everyone, okay, forget about me. If it were that easy, everyone who had ever seen, let's say, the Dalai Lama give a lecture, they'd be enlightened. If it were just up to the teacher, somehow magically, we have a potted plant, You don't pour it and it grows. Right? Yeah? It's not like that. So, of course, the teacher can do something, right? But it depends on the hard work and effort of the students. Yikes. Okay, but let's try. Alright? So last time, okay, let's just take a little look. Okay? Patience. Zuppa, which we said there's always a bit of a problem because what we say in English is a translation of a Tibetan term, which was in turn a translation of a Sanskrit term. Then the connotations that are associated with certain words in English are different than the connotation that would be associated in Tibetan and Sanskrit and all that stuff. So when we think of patience, we think of waiting for a bus, right? No? Yes. But here, that's what we have, this page. Patience, really defined as a resolute response against adversity stemming from a settled temperament, unperturbed by either external or internal disturbance. Wow. So much in that. That's what we're talking about with Zuppa. Okay? Of course, when you're waiting for a bus, that would help, right? But it goes much more than just that. Okay? Alright. So then, we then talked about how to then begin the cultivation of patience, and that was the first 5 stanzas. That's where we got to last time. Right? So these first 5 stanzas, just a very, very quick review. So let's just look at stanza 2. There is no transgression like hatred, and no fortitude like patience. Thus I should strive in various ways to meditate on patience. Then we're talking, see, the beginning, okay? And look at here in this text. So I'm jumping around, but you guys can do it. The beginning here, right? We contemplate the disadvantages of anger. So the opposite of patience, the resolute response against adversity, is when we have adversity, get angry. Right? That's the opposite. So Zuppa, patience, is the antidote to anger. So if we want to practice the antidote of anger, we need to understand the disadvantages, the faults, the drawbacks of anger. Okay? So then at the beginning of this text, we have the, look, the unseen disadvantages and the visible disadvantages. And then the presentation of disadvantages in brief. Okay? So here, just by using the outlines, we can understand what the text is talking about in a very concise way. So, Shantideva first talks about the disadvantages of anger. We have the unseen disadvantages and the visible disadvantages. Okay? Most important, unseen disadvantage is that anger destroys our roots of virtue. You understand? That's why the second stanza, there's no, like I said, there's no transgression like hatred. Why? Because all of the other negative actions that we do, okay, we, of course, collect negative karma with them. But anger not only when we're angry do we commit negative actions, but it also destroys our previously accumulated roots of virtue. So it's the double whammy, you guys know? Double whammy? Thank you.
So we discussed last time about that virtues. We had these queries on that. Whatever accumulated virtues in one stretch we don't destroy. You want to add something?
Yes, okay. It's good that you have queries. It's good. But, man, I'm still not in the new material. I said 7:24, but now I've gone over 8 minutes and I'm still going through. So let me go through. Okay? It's good to have questions. So let's keep going. Okay? All right. Yeah. So anger eliminates opportunity for physical and mental pleasure. Anger causes us to destroy dear friendships and so forth. Those are the visible disadvantages. Okay, fine. We went through that all. Okay. So now, stanza 6. Okay. Hence, now I'm on page 54. Hence, the enemy, anger, creates suffering such as these. But whoever assiduously overcomes it finds happiness now and hereafter. Okay? It's just very brief. Okay? Reflecting on the benefits of patience. So when you see there, 6.6 CD, you guys understand? In this, yeah? 6 means chapter 6. Point 6, the second 6, stanza 6. Then, a stanza is 4 lines. Okay, 4 legs. Right? And guess what? A, B, C, D. Okay? So, 54, we have, it's chapter 6, stanza 6. Okay? C, D, but whoever assiduously overcomes it finds happiness now and hereafter. That's what 6.6 CD refers to. Amazing. Okay? Alright. Okay. So now we have engaging the mind in the methods of accomplishing patience. Okay? So, this then, arresting the causes of anger. A, the nature of the cause along with its disadvantages. Okay. So now, stanza 7. Having found its fuel of mental unhappiness in the prevention of what I wish for, and in doing what I do not want, hatred increases and then destroys me. Okay? Alright. So I'm going to now, you guys don't have it, but I'll read from Geshe Je's commentary. Okay? So in the stanza 7, Geshe Je comments, how does anger generate suffering? Mental unhappiness, which is caused either by that which is undesired by the self, and those belonging to the self, or by that which obstructs that which is desired by the self, and those belonging to the self, is a nourishment that increases anger. Having found the nourishment of mental unhappiness, the body of hatred grows stronger and destroys the self in this life and in future lives. Okay. We were talking about the beginning, right? We first have the sense of the self, and then the things that we see benefiting the self, we like, we desire, we cling to. But on the flip side, the things that we see harming the self, we get angry. angry towards, right? So that's what this is talking about. See, this fuel of mental unhappiness. Okay? So, in other words, sometimes they say, when desire doesn't get what it wants, we become angry. Right? We want something to happen. We want to, whatever. When was the last time? And this is not even full-blown anger. Okay? But even, we go to our favorite restaurant. They're full. We can't get a table. Ah, man. Just like that. We want to, go across town. We hit traffic. Again, we want a smooth, quick ride. We run into the traffic jam. Ah. Something we desire doesn't happen according to our desires. We get upset. Then, of course, the bigger things. Someone insults us. Someone cuts in front of us. Someone tries to cheat us. All these things. It's all stemming down, to mental unhappiness. Okay? Which arises from the undesired. Yeah, okay. So those things that prevent, what I wish to, what I wish for, and, are there. See, it's interesting, because this commentary I have with the subject, they translate the root verses in another way. So let me read how they say here. Finding the nourishment of mental unhappiness which arises from the undesired and from obstructions to the desired, hatred grows stronger and destroys self. Okay? So this mental unhappiness comes from either the things that are undesired happening to us, or the things, that we desire, they're getting obstructed. Okay? So, we get mental unhappiness and therefore anger. Okay? So next, instructions on making effort in the methods for overcoming anger. Therefore, stanza 8. Therefore I shall totally eradicate the fuel of this enemy, for this enemy has no other function than that of causing me harm. So what is the fuel of this enemy? Mental unhappiness. Therefore, the main thing, okay? Remember, we get mental unhappiness from what? Either having an obstacle from getting the things we want, right? Or the things we don't want happening to us. Therefore, stanza 9. Therefore, whatever befalls me, I shall not disturb my mental joy. For having been made unhappy, I shall not accomplish what I wish, and my virtues will decline. You understand? So this is it. We were talking before, you go back to work on Monday, okay? Your friends ask you, your colleagues ask you, oh, how was your weekend? Right? And then what do we say? What do we say? Oh, my weekend, I had such a great weekend. Why? Oh yeah, I went out to this great restaurant on Friday night. Had wonderful, what do you guys like? Momos. Okay, so delicious. Saturday, I went out to this concert. Man, the band was so great. You know? I met a cute boy. Got his number. We're going out next week. Then Sunday, I went out to a great place for brunch. You know? Eggs Benedict. Oh man, the hollandaise sauce to die for. I had nice, whatever it is, yeah? And then in the afternoon, topped it all off with a nice walk in Cubban Park. You know? Weather was perfect. All these things. Yeah? Great weekend. If we have a bad weekend, what happens on a bad weekends? You know? Yeah, you know, my roommate. Yeah, it was her birthday. But you know, she invited all these friends over, right? They were drinking, smoking, doing all this stuff, playing loud music all night. I couldn't sleep. You know? They left a mess in my house. I had to spend all day Sunday cleaning up my room, cleaning up my apartment. They spilled wine on the carpets. Horrible weekend. So, what did Shantideva say? Whatever befalls me, it shall not disturb my mental joy. Right? Wow. And that is actually the essence of practicing patience. Right? Yes.
Isn't it a natural response that something happens to me and I react to that situation? How do I look at that? Is this controlled physically in terms of what I need to control? Like I will not become angry? Or how is that possible in the sense of looking at it?
Yeah. So this is what we're saying, right? With training the mind.
But that won't change the situation.
No, it won't. Right? It won't. But this is what we were saying, right? There's the outside. Remember, patience is the resolute response against adversity stemming from a settled temperament unperturbed by external or internal disturbance. Okay? So, you see, it's a way of training the mind whereby, okay, let's jump to the end state. Okay? The Buddha. Then it says, right? Okay. You apply sandalwood ointment or whatever, you know, and you massage, you know, the Buddha. Ooh, I need one. You know, one side of the body. The other side, you take a knife, stab. For the Buddha, you know, same mind of love, no anger at all. Right? Love to both people doing that. Okay? So, that's the kind of end state, that's the goal. That, you know, we talk about unconditional love, right? That's the Buddha, right? Same amount of love, compassion for all sentient beings, whether or not they're benefiting or harming. That makes no difference. You know what we're saying? For the real intelligent person, Why have compassion for someone? Because they're suffering. That's it. Not because, oh, they're so nice to me, you know? Okay? So when we say, oh, but it's natural, right? You know, another word for natural means the undeveloped. So with anything, you know, before we train, before we get fluent and proficient in that skill, actually, we can think of it in another way, right? Patience, all these things that we're developing in our Dharma practice, they're skills, right? So with any skill, I was a musician before. Playing the piano. The first time we do, oh, so bad. We don't know where anything is. We don't know how to play. But after practicing, we develop the skill. And then we can play around on and off. Not even looking. Yes? Okay. So, I agree with you. Our natural tendency is, when we get some provocation, to get angry. Right? But why is that? That's because we haven't trained in the antidote of patience. Okay? So, and by the way, the flip side of it, we can think of it as we've actually trained ourselves in anger. Right? Because every time we do something, this is habits, right? Every time we do something, it becomes easier to do in the future. We get habituated. Actually, you know, the word for, in Tibetan, I say this many times, right? Gom. Gom. Which has the connotation of habituation, familiarization. You know? So actually, Shantideva, he'll say this in a few stanzas. He says, you know, there's nothing that does not become more difficult through familiarization. So, by familiarizing myself with small inconveniences, or I don't know the word he uses, I'll be able to handle larger ones. Where does that happen? You know?
14.
14, really? Nice. There's nothing whatsoever that is not made easier through acquaintance. So becoming acquainted with small harms, I should learn to patiently accept greater harms. Right?
I agree with this.
You agree, yes. So you see, now,
So, I'm saying next week I'll have, this week I had 10 friends who are coming into the apartment and doing this. So next week you'll have 20 people.
that's one way of doing it. But it's more like this. You see, now, okay, you know, someone insults you. And you're able to have this resolute response against adversary by having a settled temperament that's unperturbed by the external disturbance. Okay? So, fine. He called me stupid. And it's okay. I didn't get angry. I maintained settled. Means peaceful, calm, in such a way that I didn't have to react. Now, you look at the Buddha's life story, even before he was Buddha, you know, he brings up the story in the Vajrakara Sutra, Bodhicitta, where, you know, in one of his previous lives, there was a king, the king of Kalinga, who, to test the Buddha's resolve, cut off his arms. He's like, oh, hey, I heard about you. You practice patience? Let's see. You know? Cut off his arms, his legs, you know, to test. Okay? But I'm not saying Buddha. Even before he was Buddha, he was just a Bodhisattva. He never then entertained a notion of then wanting to harm that person back. Only had love. Okay. So you see, where are we now? We're not even close to that. But we start with these small things. Then we learn, we train. And then, as our training progresses, we can handle more and more difficult, provocative situations. Such that just as when we learn the piano, right? That first day we sit down, we think, no way can I play these, Rachmaninoff pieces. But after some training in a few years, we can do it. So now, when we hear this story, what? No way. Cutting off my limbs? No way can I do that. But through the training, the things that actually at the beginning seem impossible become possible. But we start where we are now. So, you're saying, oh, but it's natural. Yes. It's natural for those, just like it's natural for those who haven't, taken a piano lesson. It's natural for them to not be able to play the piano. So also, those who have been trained in patience, it's very natural to get angry. But for the Buddha, actually for even the Bodhisattva, it's very natural to, when they're provoked, when they're stabbed, when they're cut, to remain, Koi baat nahi.
No, sorry.
We baat nahi.
So you're saying that endure the pain of cuts and burns for no reason.
Whoa. No, wait a minute. No, you're jumping ahead. This is okay. Okay, you've jumped, so I have to follow you. What this is talking about, now you're in stanza 13. See, there's others, right? They think the path to liberation is self-mortification. Lying on a bed of nails. Oh, by doing this, I'll purify all my negative karma and I'll be liberated. Actually, that's wrong. How do you become liberated? You have to realize emptiness. They think, oh, well, I have all this negative karma, okay? So I will subject myself to being burned, cut, walk on hot coals, then I'll burn up all my negative karma and then I'll be liberated. We say, no way. Because the root of samsara is the misapprehension of the self, we have to discover the truth about the self. Then and only then can we become liberated. But this, Shantideva is using this as an example, okay? These people, these ascetics, they endure the pains of cuts and burns for no reason at all. Means they think this is the way to liberation, but it's actually not. So, if these others are able to do that, then us, who are trying to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, then, for the sake of liberation, why do I have no courage? Means, I should then be, seeing the great benefit of enlightenment, I should then say, okay, I'm going to take as my practice, the practice of patience. Not for no reason, for enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And therefore, when I am subjected to these harms, I'm going to have this resolute response against adversity. Why? Because I want to perfect the perfection of patience. Hello? Yes? Great. Maybe you need to find another teacher. Shanti.
No, Venerable.
No, because yeah, I'm looking at the clock, it's 7:57. I've gone through 2 stanzas.
It's okay.
Really?
It's okay.
It's gonna take me an eon. No, you know what? My style, I'm not a 1 weekend a month kind of teacher, actually. What we're gonna have to do, okay, when I graduate, we'll go find a place in the countryside somewhere. No, really. Save up your money now. Okay? You know? We'll go, we'll have these, practice, meditate, study. We'll all memorize Bodhisattvacharyāvatāra. Yeah? Have classes every day. What do you think?
Yes, Venerable.
It becomes a resident Geshe.
Huh?
And at that time, maybe 4 times a week, like Nalanda University.
Yes.
France.
Yes.
Yes.
That's my style. I can't do it. I mean, give me 2 hours. It's like, 2 hours I'm just getting warmed up. You understand? Oh, no, wait a minute. Read 4 stanzas. Okay, I take it all back. So this next stanza, okay, we'll do this as the last one and then we'll finish. This stanza, His Holiness mentioned so many times, this next one, number 10. Why be unhappy about something if it can be remedied? And what is the use of being unhappy about something if it cannot be remedied? This again, right? Yeah, remember. So nice, right? Remember, we're trying to maintain a sense of, mental balance and peace. It's not dependent on the outside, right? Remember, whatever happens to us, be it happy, sad, good, bad, normally what we're like the, I don't know, some kind of ball on the surface of the ocean, right? Then when the wave comes, then when it passes down, we're totally at the mercy, just like that ball would be totally at the mercy of the waves, up and down. Our lives are like that, Remember our weekends? Oh yeah, so good. Oh, this happens, So, as they say, I heard this, and I think it made good advertisement, but someone said they saw an advertisement for a kind of course like this, right? Where it said, you can't stop the waves, but you can learn how to surf. You understand? I'm from Hawaii. You know that? Very, very true about life, actually. Anyway, this is Shantideva talks about this. So this one, and then there's the other one, where he gives that analogy of the leather. Okay. So for our new people, Shantideva asks, where could you find enough leather to cover the whole surface of the earth? But if you wear sandals, it serves the same purpose. Similarly, how could you subdue all the unruly beings of the world? But if you subdue your own mind, what need is there to do anything else? Same point. Same point. And this is actually the quintessential point about Dharma, right? Where the Dharma is these methods to subdue our own minds. It's taking a step away from the normal kind of narrative of our happiness being dependent on what happens to us on the outside. You understand? So again, since this mental unhappiness is the fuel of our anger, then this one, as Shantideva say, if there's something that can be done about it, why be unhappy? Sometimes, how else do they translate it? I don't like this. But they say, if one can do something, what is there to dislike? If one can do nothing, what use is dislike? The point is the same, right? Okay, whatever problem we have, whatever situation we're in, okay, sometimes they also say like, why worry? Right? So the point is, if one can do something about the situation, okay, why worry? Means, don't worry, do that thing instead. And if there's nothing that can be done about the situation, again, why worry? The worry doesn't help. So also this mental happiness doesn't help. Right? So, yes.
So we talked about the various disturbance and that causes unhappy mind.
Hmm?
So one of them could be like, suppose someone who is my acquaintance and he did some killing.
Someone what?
My acquaintance,
Acquaintance,
or
yeah.
maybe my roommate.
Yeah.
Okay, so he is killing some insects maybe whom I am very much like I have compassion.
Mm.
Okay. But still I cannot resist myself to be unhappy for that. As of now I feel that.
Mm.
Can I be in that position later that even if he kills cockroach, so I would be okay with that?
Okay. This is a very good question, so thank you. Did you all hear? He's saying, let's say his roommate. Okay. The context is we're talking about our mind being undisturbed no matter what happens, right? So then his roommate kills a cockroach, and since he has compassion for the cockroach, he'll be unhappy about it. So he's saying, will I ever be in a position where then I won't even be unhappy where he kills cockroaches, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, see, there's two things actually. Okay. Actually, there's many things. As a bodhisattva, even as a Buddha, right? We have compassion for all sentient beings. So we have compassion for the cockroach. That's good. We don't want to lose that. So in general, we have a wish that the cockroach not suffer. But we also have a wish that your roommate be free from suffering. So when we see the roommate killing the cockroach, with our understanding of karma, we say, oh, he is collecting causes for suffering in the future. Okay? So actually, as a bodhisattva, we have a positive obligation to try to prevent people from committing negative actions that are the causes of their suffering in the future. Okay? Now, how we do that? We do it with a mind of compassion, not a mind of anger. You understand? So, it's not the case that, as Buddhists, oh, such pacifists, oh, everything's okay. Oh, you want to kill others? Okay. And we have this kind of detached, aloof, ambivalent view of the world. Oh, it's okay. No, it doesn't, nothing disturbs my peace. Oh, kill, okay, fine. No, not like that. We need to recognize the negative, the injustice, the things that are wrong in the world, and sometimes we need to act, even act very forcefully to prevent these things from happening. But the difference is in the motivation, right? The motivation of, like some years ago we saw in the, there'd be protests about wars, right? And, sometimes these protests would turn violent, and they would break the shop windows and, set the cars on fire, right? What is the motivation behind that? I don't know, maybe there's bodhisattvas in the crowd. But from ordinary appearance, it seems like they're motivated by anger and a wish to harm those that are causing harm. So we don't do that. We can maybe act forcefully, but the motivation is of compassion against those who are causing harm. You with me?
How can we be forceful with compassion?
How can we be forceful with compassion? I mean, okay, it's time's up. But I'll say this in brief. There's even a story in Lamrim about, again, when the Buddha was a bodhisattva, means still training on the path. He was on a ship with 500 merchants. And he had power of clairvoyance, and he saw that there's a pirate that then was going to kill the 500 merchants to take the cargo of the ship for himself. The Buddha saw this. The Bodhisattva. So then, what did he think? He thought, oh, if this pirate kills 500 people, such heavy negative karma, he's going to be reborn in the hells for such a long period of time. So ignorant, so foolish, and so unbearable that this person would have to experience that. So, I must stop. And the only way he could stop in this story, he had to kill the pirate. But what was his thought? Oh, pirate's such a bad person, and then in some movie, I don't know, where it glorifies, getting the bad guys. No. Compassion and thought. Okay, yes, killing, I don't want to do it, but, even if from having to kill, even if I have to get reborn in the hell realms, better me then this pirate, this deluded being, so with a mind of compassion, kills a pirate. Hello? Can this happen? Huh?
It's still killing, right?
It's still killing. But the motivation is that of compassion. So of course, this story is a source of a lot of debate, this. I'll just say the standard, what it says in the Lama text is, because of the force of the compassion and the willingness to be reborn in the hells for an ascending being, actually it lessened the amount of time in samsara for the Bodhisattva. It speeded the Bodhisattva along the path to enlightenment through the force of compassion. So the question was, how can we be forceful with compassion? See, of course, we need both compassion and wisdom. So for us, actually, it's a little bit difficult. Okay. Nonetheless, I guess what I'm saying is, at a certain point when we have real, deep compassion, and we have the wisdom that knows, well, first, he had clairvoyance. Okay? We don't even know what's happening tomorrow. Right? But at a certain point, combined with the wisdom, then the compassion will, guide us to do what is right. Okay, let's stop. Otherwise we'll be stuck in traffic. And it'll upset us. So, it's dedicated to merit, so please think that due to the virtue that we've accumulated in our time here tonight, may all sending beings, vast and vast in space, freely be freed from all their sufferings of body and mind, and abide in the fearless happiness of complete enlightenment forever. Then we also dedicate for the long lives of the spiritual friends, particularly His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, all the holy gurus teaching the complete, unmistaken path to enlightenment. May they all have long and stable lives. May all of their teachings, their activities of teachings, especially the activity of teaching, increase. May all their holy wishes be accomplished immediately, and may I be able to cause that by myself alone. Then we also dedicate for the flourishing of the Dharma. So may these Dharma teachings, which are the sole source of happiness and benefit for all beings, increase in the 10 directions forever and never decline. And in particular, may this mind of Bodhicitta, this altruistic wish to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings, arise in our own hearts and in the hearts of all sentient beings without any seconds delay. And may the altruistic wish that is already been generated increase. Okay. We'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock.